Welcome to the Discrete Trial Training Performance Monitoring Tool video. You have just learned about the components of Discrete Trial Training, DTT for short, and the different methods that can be implemented. This video will outline how to implement the simultaneous method of DTT, where at least 3 stimuli are introduced at the same time. If you have not done so already, please pause this video and print out a few copies of the DTT PMT. Now, let's get started. As you have learned, a PMT helps observers objectively monitor another person's performance. This PMT outlines the steps for successful implementation of DTT using both the simultaneous and sequential method. Step 1 is to write your name, the date, and the client's name, or client code, at the top of the datasheet. Each item of the PMT will be scored as either a 1, 0, or NA. Each trial with a score of 0 at any of the steps will count as a 0 for the entire trial. Now, let's get into scoring. Before teaching trials, there are a few things that need to be done. First, the RBT must grab all necessary materials, such as a datasheet, a pen, and any required stimuli for the program. We can see here that the RBT has successfully gathered all necessary materials to begin the training. Second, the RBT must have selected effective reinforcers, meaning that they were ranked high on the last preference assessment that was run with the client. In this case, the client really likes the toy truck. Next, it is important to identify the essential components of the written skill acquisition plan, like the target responses, prompting method, and the method of stimuli presentation. In this case, the RBT has, and the method of stimulus presentation is the simultaneous method. Now, moving forward on what should happen during teaching trials, the following steps occur very quickly and happen almost at the same time. So, make sure you are listening and watching closely. Let's begin with Step 5. Step 5 states that the RBT must place the correct number of stimuli in the field. As you can see, the field is set up with 3 stimuli, the appropriate amount for the simultaneous method. Step 6 has 2 very important components that should not be missed. For Step 6a, we need to make sure that the stimuli are always presented equal distance apart from each other. Additionally, Step 6b states that we need to make sure that the stimuli were rotated across all trials. This step should be recorded as NA on the first trial. Scoring 1 or a 0 will begin on the second trial, after the stimuli were presented the first time. Let's see what this looks like. Once the correct number of stimuli were placed in the field, equal distance apart, and rotated systematically, we can move on to Step 7. Step 7 states that the RBT must secure the client's eye contact for about 2 seconds. This is also known as the ready response, signaling that the client is ready to begin the trial. It looks like this. Ready? Step 8 states that the RBT must present the correct instruction. This means that the instruction matches what the program states the SD should be. The target instruction is touch, followed by one of the colors in the array. For example, touch red. Let's see what this looks like. Touch red. In addition, Step 9 says that the SD, or instruction, must meet 3 specific criteria. First is that the instruction must be clear, meaning that it was delivered without any distractor instructions. Second is that the instruction must be concise, meaning that it has minimal number of words, just like today's instruction, which is touch, followed by the name of the color. And it should be delivered in a neutral tone, meaning that the instructor should avoid any inadvertent voice fluctuations when delivering the instruction. Let's check again to see if the RBT met these criteria. Touch red. Yep, looks like the instruction was clear, concise, and delivered in a neutral tone. For Step 10, while presenting the stimuli, the RBT's behavior must be absent of inadvertent cues such as eye gaze and physical movement. The RBT must look straight ahead and not provide a clue by looking at the target, and keep his hands in a neutral position, not providing a physical cue by accidentally gesturing to the correct answer. Let's take a look at that same moment. Touch red. Perfect. His hands are in a neutral position and his eyes are looking straight forward. For Step 11, if the learner required a prompt and the instructor provided it correctly, we would mark it here. Otherwise, it would be NA. Now, the next part of the PMT is split up into 2 options, which depends on the learner's response. If the learner responds correctly, the RBT must 12. Deliver the reinforcer, 13. Deliver it immediately within 3 seconds, 14. It must be the appropriate amount. Alright, let's see what the correct response looks like. Touch red. Nice. Great! We can say that the reinforcer was delivered, it was delivered within 3 seconds, and given that it was an independent response, he appropriately reinforced using the highest preferred item. If the learner responds correctly, step 15 would be marked as NA. Now, if the learner responded incorrectly in the trial, you would mark NA on steps 12, 13, and 14. You would then move straight to 15, which is if an incorrect response occurs. If an incorrect response occurs, the RBT should attempt to block the response and remove all materials. Let's see what this looks like.
Touch red.
Removing all materials will signal the end of the trial. You will begin the next trial by going back up to the top of the PMT, starting at placing the correct number of stimuli in the field, equal distance apart, and rotate it systematically. Steps 5 and 6. Finally, there are a couple of things that we should be looking at across all trials. These are under general criteria. Step 16. We need to be sure that the RBT begins the next trial within 3 to 5 seconds of the end of the last trial. Additionally, we need to make sure that the RBT is taking data on all trials. This is very important. Now, let's watch a couple of trials and score the implementer's performance together. Please watch the next video and pull out your PMTs to follow along. See you in the next video.